Hello. I'm making this video because I get a lot of questions about my street legal 2012 Polaris RZR XP 900. This is it, as you can see. First off, you'll notice it does in fact have a license plate on it. Okay, first off, I keep hearing a lot of people getting pulled over by officers and getting tickets because they didn't have proper lighting on them, or they were lacking some of their lighting. Okay, let me point out where a lot of people are going wrong. Let me reach in, turn on my key here, first off. Okay, this is just my key on position. I'm not in it, I'm not on the brakes, so this is my park lights right now. This is serving as my park lights. When I hit them, they're obviously also my brake lights. And that's fine from the rear. Problem is, it does not flash. There are people cutting into them, making them where they flash. That's great if they want to go to that trouble. I really didn't want to mess with my factory wiring harness. So what I found was these little buttons here. Now, something else on mine. Once, as I said, I've got them on. Okay, as I said a moment ago, I've got them on. They're wired. I have them both back, where they're visible from the back and from the side. Now, when I turn on my flashers, you'll notice they're flashing, both the front and the side ones. And that goes for the rear one, rear facing one, and the side one. Now, you may notice the other side, just like a car, is staying illuminated without flashing. This is what's required by the law for a Dune Buggy law. Now, I license mine under the Dune Buggy law, the passenger Dune Buggy law. There's also a low-speed vehicle law. The requirements are slightly different, but one thing that it does have in common is you are still required to have marker lights visible from the side. I'm not sure if somebody said they did not think the low-speed vehicle law required them to actually flash from the side, but you are required to have the park light part of it. Now, if I turn my park lights off, turn on the hazard flashers, well, obviously, they're still going to flash. Another part of the law, you are required to have dual beam headlights. Well, if you've got a more modern RZR, there's not a problem. Obviously, there's my high beams. And if I can reach in, probably not getting a good angle, well, there's my low beams. So I have the dual beam headlights as required by the law. Also under the law, let me reach in and shift the puppy and turn off my flashing lights. Aha! Here's another place where people are missing out. Depending on your providence, some low-speed vehicles do not have to have backup lights, but Dune Buggies, if you go under the Dune Buggy law, do. You are required to have backup lights. The big difference is a low-speed vehicle is not supposed to be on any road where it has a speed limit of over 45 miles per hour. The low-speed Dune Buggy law, I can go out on the highway, on the 55-mile-an-hour highway, or if I was in a state with a 60-mile-an-hour two-lane highway, whatever. Basically, the only thing a Dune Buggy cannot do, a passenger Dune Buggy, is it's not allowed on the interstate. I don't think I would want to take a RZR on the interstate anyway, so that's not a big issue for me. So let me go shift it back out, a reverse, and I don't have to start it. Another thing you're required under the law to have, you're required to have a horn. Now, I mounted my horn over here. That little button right there, that's the factory position. I didn't buy the expensive $70 kit. I found that nice little switch there that looks good in the dash. Fits the factory position, $2.99. So the horn, I've mounted up under here. I don't know how well you can see that, but the horn comes already mounted on a tab. It's got a metal bracket sticking out. This is, I believe, a Wolo brand, but I'm not sure. It's actually neat because it's black and has red trim in it, so it actually matches my machine. And I literally just unbolted this upper brace here, slipped the tab to the horn under it, which already had a hole in it, bolted up, and then of course run my wiring. It does get muddy there, but it doesn't seem to affect its working. They were meant to work in a harsh environment. I'm actually thinking about adding one on the other side in the same exact position. My windshield is shatterproof. It's one of the Polaris flip and ride windshields. It is shatterproof. It would not meet DOT standards to be on the interstate, but like I said, I don't intend to get on the interstate anyway. One thing I don't have yet, I don't have my windshield wiper. Our local officers are pretty cool. They know I don't ride it when it's raining or even, might rain, so they haven't given me a hard time about that. They know that it's, that I'm only going to be out in it when it's bright and sunny. If there's any chance of rain at all, I'm not going to be out on the road in it. So they haven't given me a problem. Something else, let me turn on my brakes here. I actually have, this is something else required. I don't know if you can see it down here. This is your lever. This is the not on position, and this is an EMP third brake kit for the RZRs. And you simply flip it down, and you now have an emergency brake. That is also required by law in a lot of places. Now you can see my rear lights are nice and bright. They're brighter than they were a while ago. That is my emergency brakes per the law. Another thing it does, if you have one of these things, if you've ever parked it on a hill and you notice that you've got to kind of fight with the shifter, it's really hard to get it to shift out of gear when you're parked on a hill or an incline. That is just awesome because you can put it in neutral, set the brake, let off of your foot brake then. Actually, it depresses your foot brake as part of it. And then go ahead and shift it into park once the brake is taking the pressure. And when you get back in it, you don't have to fight with it to pull it back in gear. I have actually heard of people damaging their transmissions or popping their shifter linkage loose because of how tight and how hard these things can be to get out of gear when they are on an incline. So I would have had that brake added or put the brake in myself whether I needed it under the law or not, just because it's a great thing to have. Also under the law, you're required to have rear view mirrors. I do have a rear view mirror. This is actually a car rear view mirror. I've taken a billet aluminum bracket, mounted it to it. Works perfect. Now under the law, you are actually required to have at least 2 mirrors. Either you must have outside mirrors on either side, or a center mirror, or a center mirror and an outside mirror on the left side. Okay, in other words, 2 different mirrors. You're not required to have all 3. You're not required to have one on both sides, and you can choose which way you want to do it if you don't have all 3, but you have to have at least 2 mirrors, either the center one and one on the left side, or one on the left and one on the right without the center. I actually had all 3. My others were mounted right here. I had a tab here, and it had the other mirror mounted right in this area here. Problem was I had my doors. I love my Polaris doors, by the way. They're a great addition. They keep that dust that loves to swirl in over the footwell down here. Comes right over the tire, swirls right in here. The Polaris doors are great. They get rid of that. They actually have a rubber seal down at the bottom, so when you close them, that stops that from coming in. We're dramatically cut down on the dust. Plus, they're low cut enough that you can still rest your armrest on them. They had nets on the top, but I took the nets off of mine. But I had to take my mirrors off when I mounted the door, so I'm going to have to redo my mirrors. I think they're going to clamp now in this area right in here and give me my rear view mirrors back on both sides, because I do want mirrors on both sides. I think I'm going to keep them kind of to the inside here. They're not no particular requirement, except you can see a vehicle behind you in the mirrors. So I got to get them out far enough for that, but they don't have to be, like way out there where they touch branches and everything else. Other things that you're required to have, of course, are seat belts. The RZRs all come with seat belts already. That's not a problem. 5-point harnesses also work if you have one of those, if you've taken your seat belt off. No problem there. In a few areas, I have heard of people getting kind of, some of the officers are being a little picky. They're claiming that the tires say on them not for highway use. I think the real argument to that is that the reason they put that on there is because they don't want people buying these and putting them on a car that's capable of 100 miles an hour, and these tires are not meant to hold up to that, and they you will blow them out. They're not meant for that much weight. These work fine. These bighorns work fine going down the highway at the speeds the XP is capable of running. 55 mile an hour highway. Actually, the XP will go up into the mid 80s Some people say that without the windshield, which is a giant windbreak, by the way, but you're required to have it. Some people are getting up to the low 90s without their windshield on. With the windshield, I can't get beyond the low 80s with mine. So I think the windshield is slowing me down. It's acting as a windbreak. These are 14-inch wheels. Some officers have pointed out that you're supposed to have at least 14-inch wheels. Well, mine come with 12-inch wheels. I put 14s on it, so they can't complain about that part. They could still complain about, the tires being marked not for highway use. There are people buying RZRs though and getting 2 sets of wheels, and they're actually getting lightweight automotive tires, off-road tires, and putting on them. And of course, those would meet the law. There's no question there that those would meet the law mounted on 14-inch wheels. So that is an option for some people if you live in an area where they're really picky about it. Like I said, the things I'm missing right now, and I had them, was my outside mirrors. I need at least one. I do not have the windshield wiper, but like I said, our officer around here is pretty cool with it. He hadn't given me any problems. The other thing I'm technically missing, but our officer also has not said anything about it, is on all vehicles built after 1986, you're required to have a high-mounted third brake light. We've all seen them. They're in the center of the trunk or on the spoiler or in the rear window. I need to figure out a way to mount a third brake light up here. I think what I'm going to do is just mount it right up here somehow. It doesn't have to be incredibly big. It's just got to be there. In fact, they make a longer, more oval-shaped version of this, and I may actually mount it right into the plastic right there and pop it in. Take my Dremel tool and just make a nice, neat oval-shaped hole there and snap it in. Okay, the only other thing left, of course, is the noise. The RZR is quiet enough to meet noise laws in most areas. There may be a few areas where it might be a little loud. But if it is, then that means there's a lot of guys running out there with trucks with dual exhaust on them that they've added that are also illegal. So, mine has a stock exhaust, and around here it's not illegal. There have been a couple of people that said their officers got onto them because they were driving them at night, and I don't really drive mine at night in the city. I do some, but not a lot. They've said that there is no brake light. Well, you can buy a little kit that mounts the light right here, and I think just for the sake of being 100% in compliance, I think I'm actually going to add that and wire it right in, since I already have the wires back here for my side markers lights, and just wire it in so it comes on with them. I hope this explains some people's confusion over what does and does not make the RZRs street legal. Like I said, mine is even missing a couple of things, but around here I haven't had a problem with them. So, your mileage may vary, but the biggest thing that people are having a problem with, I've noticed, is the lack of the side marker lights. You have to have the side marker light. Sticking a light, mounting it up here, that can't be seen from the side very good, especially if it's a flat light like these. And if you do it in the back, because of how deep it is in there, that certainly can't be. You're supposed to be able to see it. If somebody is coming at you from the side, an angle like this, obviously if you had it on the front, you'd never see the one on the front, but you can see these on the side. That is the biggest point that I'm hearing where a lot of people are getting their tickets by driving them without those lights, even during the day. Because the officer, you might have an officer that's a little bit picky, and he was looking for something, and that's something you want to be aware of, is you are required to have those lights. Thank you, and hope this helps anybody that's thinking about making their RZR, Wildcat, T-Rex, Can-Am Commander, or whatever else street legal.